This is the January 2nd, 2018 meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. The meeting is hereby called to order under the authority of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. Notice is given that both a video and audio recording will be made of this meeting. The agent will now call the roll for attendance.
Arthur Page.
Here.
Kurt Turner.
Here.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Judy Keys, absent. Dan Shinnick. Here. Sam Strife. Here. Howard Vogel. Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum present.
Very good. That would bring us to the first item, which is payroll and/or vendor bills.
We actually have a little bit of both. If we may, request authorization of payroll. We have been doing some work, even though we interspersed some holidays and
I noticed some
vacation days.
strange dates on some of my memos. I had phone calls and everything.
If I may, will you approve the hours sheet? I only tried to call you once, and it was in regards to that,
Yeah.
that property, but then I'm like, you know what? What the heck?
Well, I figured that, yeah.
I can see what's going on here, and I don't like it, so.
I thought it was, and I knew what it was about. I was out of town at the time then also, but I figured that, from what I understood, everything was off, so
Yeah, well,
it wasn't.
yeah, they're not paying a lot of attention to us. This is for, picked up some copy paper, so I could print out memos for you folks. And this is the backup invoice for your review. We have postage reimbursement for mailing out the directive for 95 Cross Street. And this is the backup invoice for that. And we mailed out a permit in amongst there too, and that's for reimbursement of postage. And that's the backup receipt. Do you want to speak to Ms. King before doing the minutes, or do you want to do the minutes? I mean, there isn't any real, quote unquote, that isn't a hard and fast order. There's a lot of administrative items.
That'd be fine. This is gonna be it. You want to, Tina?
Yeah.
Okay. Melissa?
Yes.
Yes, why don't you,
I
Give
know
your
you don't need to move your
presentation,
seat. I'm happy to just come up. Thank you for having me. I'm a new resident of Raleigh as of July 2016. My husband and I moved here from Peabody. I have a background in environmental studies, degree from Tufts, and then I got my master's in public policy. And my family has a cabin up in Vermont that we own, 300 acres with a number of other families, and work with the Vermont Land Trust to become part of conservation spaces up there. So pretty familiar with the idea of protecting both residential and conservation lands. And my background in public policy and environmental studies, I feel really comfortable kind of navigating the issues having to do with natural resources and protecting wildlife and understanding the value of protecting our ecosystem to protect our water resources and stuff like that. So I'm really eager to learn a little bit more about Rowley and the spaces that we have here, and then also take steps to work with you guys and with the Open Space Committee to protect those spaces and kind of move forward with the plan as it is and take it into the next steps. So that's my shtick. I'm very pleased to be here. I appreciate you guys taking the time to meet me.
it's an impressive resume, and I think we'd be very glad to have somebody like you. Unfortunately, you'll probably be dealing with, where should we get the, the little small political stuff that goes with it, but.
Yes, well that I'm very familiar with what my family does up in Vermont.
That's perfect.
Working with 9 other families to try to own and make decisions on the space makes me very comfortable in that situation. So I feel like that would just be a microcosm of, I'm sure, what we experience here in Raleigh with all the varying opinions and what people have in mind for what should happen to these spaces. So definitely understand the conflicts that happen there.
That is a very impressive resume. I have a question that isn't really related to any of this, but you work for the School for Field Studies?
I do, yeah.
Where does their funding come from?
It's a nonprofit, so the tuition that the students pay to study abroad with us is what keeps us going. And so we basically just break even each year in terms of setting our tuition and then paying the costs that we have for our staff out in the international field stations, and then our staff at headquarters in Beverly, Mass. It's really fun though. I originally wanted to be a wildlife biologist and did a lot of that type of work, and then realized that lifestyle is very nomadic and you're moving around and you're gone for 9 months of the year. So eventually I worked my way into an organization that does that research and has their hand in it, but I get to have a home base here and just live vicariously through our students and our faculty. So it's a really rewarding job. We have 8 field stations around the world that students attend. They defer from their current universities for a semester and study abroad with us, and it's actually a program that I studied abroad with when I was back in college. So it's neat now to be on the other side of things. I went to Kenya and studied wildlife management for 4 months, which was really rewarding and different experience from Tufts. So it'd be good to get back into.
Do you have any questions, Evan?
No, not at all. I think you add a lot to our open space team.
Great.
We've got a lot going on. And
This might be an opportunity for me to put in a plug for something that I think I mentioned to Brent with regard to the Open Space Committee, but I think that the town needs to have a mapping of the invasive species that exist on all the town properties, not just the former Girl Scout camp, and that those invasive species should not only be mapped in terms of location, but prioritized in terms of if we're going to try to do something from a town-wide standpoint to get rid of those invasive species, that they be identified in terms of difficulty and the cost of doing such, and that there is an open space plan that has to be revised every 5 minutes. It sort of comes within the purview of the Open Space Committee. Right. And this, I think, would be something that could be incorporated into the next plan, and is needed, I think. Anyway, that's my little speech.
I think it's a good point. I don't know if there was, I don't recall if there was any being addressed in the actual open space plan concerning invasive. I mean, I don't recollect. There could be. I don't
Other than recognition
The
that
fact
that
that
was
they
a land
exist.
stewardship issue.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was an action item in the
Yeah.
last one,
No.
from what I read.
That's a good point.
But,
Well, what should we do from now, Howard? Make a recommendation to the,
This is,
Wow.
well, yeah,
We-
so she's appearing before us, and depending upon, the commission seems to be very favorable in regard to Ms. King's qualifications, so the appropriate action would be to issue a letter of recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, which she should seek to be able to get placed on their agenda and speak to them, since they're the appointing authority.
okay. Do I hear a motion to,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
great.
You
Thank you
guys
very
were real
much.
quick on that one, so
Yeah,
that's a
very
letter of
good.
support to the selectmen, right?
Yeah, definitely. You've already got it written up, right?
No, I don't think so. Oh, the letter?
Yeah.
Well,
And should I just?
I'll have to
reach out
fudge something
the
about
Board of
whether we've got any
Selectmen
prairie dog colonies to do radio telemetry on.
Yeah.
Other than that.
I think the next thing is,
Is-
will the selectmen get in touch with her?
No, she would,
and I'll reach out to them.
yeah, but wait till I get the letter to them, because then they will,
Then you will reach out at that point.
yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
she can come to our open space committee, our meeting, right?
When's your next meeting?
Of course, they're
Next
public
Tuesday.
meetings. Yeah,
Next Tuesday.
absolutely.
Next Tuesday?
At 6 o'clock, so
Okay.
we start early,
Okay,
so.
Where do you meet, here?
and it's
Here, we'll be in
this
this
room?
room, 6 o'clock.
Next Tuesday.
I'm sorry, who moved and who seconded on this? Now, we're on the spot, Howard.
I second.
Okay,
Yeah, look
thank you
forward to
very
seeing
much.
you. Thank you.
Yep, I'll see you on Tuesday then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so that brings us to the minutes, which we have 3 minutes, 3 separate ones that have been sent electronically, so has everybody had a chance to review the December 5th, 2017? And have any questions, or I noticed Kurt had some, was that on the,
Yeah, we took care of, there was
Yeah.
a spelling mistake on
The
the
December
firm
one, right.
representing the town on the Pine Grove School. And then there was a question about reference to regulations, which I responded to Kurt today, that the stormwater regulations are appropriate and viable both under the Wetlands Protection Act as well as under the Stormwater Management Bylaw. The difference is that under the Wetlands Protection Act, you only have regulated resource areas that those stormwater regulations apply to. Under the Stormwater Bylaw, the size of the project makes it so the entire project is then subject to those stormwater regulations.
Right.
So they're viable for both
right,
procedures and appropriate to be mentioned on both applications, just one has a smaller footprint than the other one.
anybody else have any questions as to the December 5th, 2017 meeting? Do I hear a motion to accept it as it was represented?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to the next one, which was the November 12th, 2014. Everybody have a chance to review that? Any questions, problems, or suggestions? Do I hear a motion to accept that as it was presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the last is the December 2nd, 2014. Everybody had a chance to review that?
Yes.
Any questions?
Hang on a second.
You did have something.
I had an extra D in the, I assume that's been taken care of?
Sorry.
Page 2.
Page 2. Down towards the bottom of the page.
I think I sent it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yes, you did.
Yep.
Same page. 759 Main Street, just, am I on the right one? Page 3?
Just a second here.
That's
I'm
where the
sorry.
other one was, yeah.
Yeah.
Down at
759 Main Street, yep.
Right, end of the first paragraph. It's highlighted present. Was that something that was added in at the end, or?
Possibly present weather conditions?
Yeah, so,
Highlighting needs to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't any highlighting on it now.
oh, okay. It says advantage of present the weather conditions.
Yeah, synonym, we could put current in there if you wished it to.
Well, I thought it was backwards. You should say advantage of the present weather conditions. It says advantage of present the weather conditions.
Oh, yeah, do an article.
How was it?
Oh, is the supposed to be in front of present?
Yeah, but this
Yes.
place.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep, okay.
Do I hear a motion to accept it with that following correction?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent.
Okay, cool.
Oh, really, is it?
You have any 23rd, 23rd?
Now we'll go back to.
Oh, really?
Yep, we're working our way back now.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Okay. That brings us to our 7:45. All right, this is a legal notice. The Raleigh Conservation Commission, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40, as amended by the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, a public meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, at 7:45 p.m., Room 5, Town Hall Annex, at 39 Central Street, to consider the request, the determination of applicability, application filed by Rob Nixon, Bitterroot LLC, for the proposed construction of replacement subsurface sewage disposal system, possibly within a 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands on Lot B at 202 Main Street, map 24, parcel 138 in Raleigh, Mass.
Good evening. My name's Maureen Harold from North Environmental Services. Here with me tonight is Mr. Rob Nixon. He's the applicant for the property. This site is St. Mary's Parish on Main Street. The plans that I handed out, those are just colored versions of what's shown on the board here. The green, we have the bordering vegetated wetland. The pink line is the 200-foot riverfront area of Ox Pasture Brook, a perennial stream. The yellow is the 100-foot buffer zone that's shown on the plan. And the orange highlighted area is the erosion controls that we're proposing. Basically, we'd like to replace a field septic system for the site. So we're gonna put in a brand new septic tank as well as a leach field. Abandon the existing area. We show a stockpile area for the site as well. I can open it up to the commission if you have any questions.
At this point, unless somebody has any questions, I'd like to open it up to our
Right,
agent.
thank you. Well, I produced a memo, which I believe was distributed to everyone, and since the production of the memo, before we get into that, I also noticed something else, and that was that sheet 2 of the detail sheet, there's no detail or specification for erosion control. So at a bare minimum, the plan will need to be revised to show specifications for the compost bark mulch filter sock.
Do you like a detail?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. We want to make sure that it's installed correctly. So we like to have it showing a detail that shows how the ends are butted together, so we don't get people doing faux pas of bringing one end over the other end and leaving a arm-sized hole or cavity for the sediment to go underneath, and showing appropriate staking and specifying bare ground contact.
Not a problem.
Just to cover for the commissioners, this is proposed as being an RDA because there is only earth disturbance, and the earth disturbance is in previously developed areas associated with the existing 4-bedroom house. The work in the buffer zone consists of putting the tank in the D-box, connecting to the structure, and then routing around here. Now, I don't know if anything has to occur in the abandonment of the system there, because I don't know whether that system is just a bunch of rocks in the ground.
No, there's a tank there, we're gonna take it out.
Oh, there is a tank there? Okay, then the erosion control will have to be adjusted in order to allow access for crushing the tank and filling it with sand, I think is the procedure. This lot hasn't been created yet, and this is part of 2 lots you're seeing before you tonight. The other lot has construction of a dwelling on it right adjacent to this. And so what's a little bit unusual here is I am proposing recognition of establishing a 25-foot no-cut, no disturbance area on this parcel, because that will synchronize and mesh in with the planned development on the adjacent parcel going to the northeast.
North.
Like a lot of historic properties, there may be some artifacts, man-made artifacts in the back here, nothing too extensive. I only saw a little bit of possibly a rusted harrow or something back in there. And so the proposed conditions on the sheet here do reflect that slight difference of establishing post-construction, establishing a no-cut, no disturbance area by putting it, field determining some positioning of posts with signage on them. I don't think anything else is necessarily warranted. As it is, there only appears to be a very small portion of this property where they had previously been doing some mowing, and actually I think right now this is kind of overgrown field grass, so again, it's not taking away, quote unquote, the ability for this structure to have some maintained lawn and associated with anyone who chooses to move into the residence, so it shouldn't be, quote unquote, disruptive of the enjoyment of that.
Is this fairly flat? Is that?
Well, there's a slope here, and yeah, this is kind of flat through here, and you can see the contour lines sort of go this way.
Yeah,
over
gradient.
here, this is much more tending towards being level over here, and then where it hits where the wetlands are delineated, that's where apparently historic fill, and that's where it drops right off. So the property was probably filled, way back before having the house and the driveway and stuff put in there. And it drops right down. The freshwater wetlands that there is significantly impacted by Phragmites, which also makes it pretty evident where it is. So, that's been a long-standing condition. So the proposal before you is to consider issuance of a determination of applicability. It would be negative determination, option number 3, because all the work is within the buffer zone and the conditions up above, with now the requirement for revision of the plan, adding a detail of erosion control. Also, I had 2 questions. The plan also talks about professional land services. Is that just an artifact from him copying the text from Mr. Holt? That's the former firm, isn't it, that he was associated with?
Yeah.
So that's not who is gonna be involved now, is it? Okay, so that text should be corrected. And then I also noticed, and it was kind of funny, that the general notes that appear on the first sheet of the plan, on the second sheet, they're repeated, but they're also all shaded out. They're like this sort of semi-grayed out. And I don't exactly know what the reason for that is.
I don't either.
Just be applied.
It seems kind of redundant if the same thing is on, one plan sheet.
We can have that removed from the second sheet because we have to add the detail
Yeah,
anyhow, so
yeah.
that's not a problem.
It does, well, I know it's not a problem, but I was just questioning for my own edification whether there was some reasoning here that, that someone was going to be having the detail sheet and therefore wouldn't see these notes on the first sheet?
I don't know.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if it has a practical purpose for being there, I would just like to see it darker so it can actually be read.
Okay.
And it, like I said, on both front and back, there's a reference within there about professional land services, so that should just be corrected. And yes, if we add the detail for composter, bark mulch, filter sock.
Thank you. Commissioners, does anybody have any questions in regards to this particular one? Do I hear such a motion to issue a negative determination, option number 3, incorporating the 11 conditions above?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No,
Sure,
that's just the certificate of mailings.
oh, sure, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I
no,
wasn't
to
sure
the
if you-
property owner, yes, thank you.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to go do some beaver work, but I left. They called me up last week and I just said, I gotta do it now. Yep. Once it's brought, it won't be. Shouldn't be.
I can take those back.
Yeah,
We don't need them.
those won't be on file. You'll be correct.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we're not going to open this because there's a request for consideration, partial.
Which I can read from this.
Yeah.
You want me to read that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, this is actually for our 8 o'clock item. And it's a letter from Norse Environmental Services to the Raleigh Conservation Commission. Commissioners, on behalf of my client Bitterroot LLC, we are requesting a waiver of the portion of the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw fee of 25 cents per square foot for disturbance in a resource area. The area is within a paved drive mowed area and not in its natural state. It's disturbed. We have enclosed a check for the amount of $250 for the Town of Raleigh bylaw fee worksheet. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this matter, please do not hesitate to call. Commissioners, what have,
So I think that the waiver request notes that the work, the proposed work is going to be conducted in an area that's already disturbed.
and therefore not theoretically subject to the provisions of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. I guess the question that arises from that is, what is the intent of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw? Is it to maintain existing wetlands, or is it to expand or return a current situation to a former or previously existing situation?
Good question.
And
It's, well,
Go ahead.
Edification.
so, well, number one, I wanted to point out
What are we
that,
looking at?
that I have brought up the town pictometry. This is the area here. There's a horseshoe or U-shaped paved drive. There's maintained lawn area, there's statuary on a base there. This is maintained lawn all out through here, all through here. So it's, and that is the area that is proposed for the limit of work for the development activities. So there isn't a specific stated explanation that covers the wetlands bylaw fee, but looking at the purpose of the wetlands bylaw, it seems focused on trying to diminish or move development activities away from undisturbed native plant communities established in quote-unquote undisturbed, with that being sort of in parentheses because Raleigh was settled very early on and there really isn't a heck of a lot of square footage in the town of Raleigh that hasn't seen some type of activity from settlement on up to present, but there's obviously areas that you have a much more expression of a different structure of a plant community as opposed to just maintained turf grass.
Mhm.
So there's no shrub layer, there's no really distinct herbaceous layer. It's, you know, grasses that have been maintained, so it's disfavored any other herbaceous growth. There's no woody stem vegetation, so there's no shrubs, there's no saplings. And the few mature trees that are there have been maintained as quote-unquote landscape features as opposed to them being a component of a naturally balanced and diverse plant community. So, again, without a clear statement of intent, it appears that the reason for a square footage fee is to try and minimize or cause avoidance of development activities going into regulated resource areas, which the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands is a resource area under our bylaw,
Okay.
not just an area subject to review like the state law. So the applicant is saying to the commission that I am not going in and clearing a relatively undisturbed plant community that is made up of herbaceous, shrub, sapling, and mature trees. My development activity is all limited to an area that has previously seen development activity and has been maintained in a sort of artificial state and not a natural expression of the plant community that we can find in many areas of buffer zone here in Raleigh. But it's already been cleared.
And none of that removes it from the qualification of being within a resource area, or does it?
It significantly diminishes the values that we protect those areas for. Infiltration is greatly diminished by the fact that it's just maintained turf grass. You lose habitat value. There's no food source, no shelter. I mean, not that grass is the worst thing under the sun, but grass does not provide a lot of habitat value. Grass does not provide a lot of pollution attenuation. Grass does not provide a lot of stormwater mitigation. Much more taller grasses. A hayfield has much more filtering and velocity slowing down of stormwater runoff, and also is usually more porous and therefore promotes infiltration better than maintained turf grass. So a lot of things that we are protecting, and that we recognize the values that resource areas provide us in this case the 100-foot buffer zone, those are severely absent from maintained lawn.
So what's the fee that they're trying to get waived on?
Okay, so we just worked on that. So so the fee for a new single-family dwelling is $250 for each dwelling, plus 0.25 or 25 cents a square foot of disturbance in a resource area as described by this bylaw. So on this project, that would calculate out to 6,525 square feet times the 25 cents, which yields $1,631.25, plus $250 for a total of $1,881.25. Now, the applicant has paid $250 for the single-family house, because that is the major activity that they're proposing in this area.
Gentlemen?
I think the rationale makes a certain amount of sense. I guess, and as Brent has indicated, I guess we've done this in one other case. I hate to get into a situation where every single project that comes before us, or a bylaw fee is applicable, that we get into splitting it and having to go through this configuration.
This is a very site-specific evaluation in this case.
They all are.
Well, yeah, but they, in all fairness, they should be. I mean, because the commission's decision should be site-specific and specifically look at the values that the resource areas they're regulating on that property provide.
You refresh my memory, what did we do in the situation where the field, which was for the solar field here on Central Street, what did we do in theirs?
We did not.
No, it was the other field that was.
First off, that was a commercial project, not
Okay.
a single-family residence. The commission, since the field had been in agricultural usage, I think the commission didn't really see that just a herbaceous cover that was only mowed, say, twice per year was of significantly different than having a hayfield that was harvested. But I'm going by vague memory.
Oh, I thought they paid the whole thing.
They did pay the whole thing.
They paid.
I'm saying the commission did not feel that the project and what was being left and put into place there made any significant difference, that therefore it warranted waiving a portion of the bylaw fee. The specific project that I had reminded Commissioner Turner of earlier on Haverhill Street, there were aerial photos that showed the property had two wood frame structures that were being demolished and a commercial project that was put in place. A short historic view through Google showed that the maintained lawn area had been bigger and was mostly what was being converted to a parking lot in this instance with stormwater facilities. And the applicant still paid. The Wetlands Protection Act fee has been paid in this instance. In that instance, the Wetlands Protection Act fee was paid, and they came to an agreement with doing some invasive species control and some other things, as well as paying a bylaw fee that was equivalent to the same amount they paid under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there was still a bylaw fee being paid, but the commission did recognize that it was in a previously quote-unquote developed area. And this actually has a much more recent history of just this last season of it, still being mowed as a developed lot or maintained lot.
Sam, do you have anything to add to this? Or?
No.
Well, would we like to take a vote as to whether the fee should be waived? Or partial fee, or what, I mean, it's going to end up more development. How would you gentlemen like to handle this? As a camel sticks his nose in his tent.
Yeah, right, yeah. I mean, if you step way back and you're looking at the intent, right? And the intent, as explained by everyone, is to try to,
Squeeze another house in.
well, no, the intent of why we got the fee.
Oh, yes,
Right,
right.
so if you look at the intent of the fee, right? The intent of the fee is to try to help, make people really look at, from a financial point of view, whether they wanna go ahead, and they're gonna be encroaching potentially on wetlands, right? So it forces that discussion, that decision process to happen, right? You kinda look at this land, I mean, it's right there, and it's been, the state has already been majorly disturbed compared in terms of wetlands protection. The issue is, it probably is gonna happen no matter what. So then the question gets down to, there's a fee. And the fact that, like, Kurt's saying is, hey, we gotta look at these things, it's taking time and money for people to sit here and make decisions on this. I mean, should there be a total waiving, or, once again, hey, you know what?
Well, the request is just for waiving
The
of the
1,600.
25 cents disturbance,
Yeah.
yeah, the $1,631.25.
But you could split the difference or do something there too, instead of just waiving the whole thing.
I can see we'll be spending our time in the future.
All the time doing it, that's what Kurt's saying.
I'll point out that there was a building there before,
Yeah.
and it was moved off the lot,
Oh, that's why the horseshoe drive.
30 or 40 years ago. I can't quite remember when, but, and I can tell you where the building is now. It's over
Where's
by
that
the
one?
fire station.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for that input.
But then again, it was probably buildings there 250 years ago.
And that brings a good point, though, it is an area that is traditionally
Yeah, developed.
developed, right? So it's not like you're going into an area that is, or even partially, I mean, it's right on Main Street, it's a developed type area.
What would somebody suggest?
I'm gonna go, I'll throw it out, I think we should waive it. And we're gonna have, just like, we're gonna have these coming, I agree with Kurt, you could be opening up the door, but that's our job. Just to look at these things and make decisions.
It's an unusual situation, actually. There aren't many places in town
Like
that are
this.
gonna be like this. So I'll second.
Great.
Motion made and second. Call for a vote.
Yeah. Unless there's more discussion.
All those in favor of waiving then?
Aye.
Aye.
It don't have to be unanimous. I just-
Well, how many eyes do we have?
You've got more eyes than
You've
there.
got a majority.
4 eyes.
So,
That's
quorum.
fine. You've got it.
I'm sorry, now Howard moved.
And second.
Sam seconded.
Just because I can see where we're gonna be spending hours and hours and hours of our time from this point on.
chance to do this again.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully,
Well,
yeah.
So let's open the hearing.
Okay. This is a legal notice of Raleigh Conservation Commission. In accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40, as amended by the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, 8 p.m., Room 5, Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider the notice of intent, application filed by Robert Nixon, Bitterroot LLC, the proposed construction of a 30 by 66 single-family dwelling deck, removal of a paved drive associated with grading utilities possibly within 100 foot of the buffer zone, bordering vegetative wetlands, Lot C at 202 Main Street, map 24, parcel 138 in Rowley, Mass.
Good evening, Maureen Harold, Norris Environmental. Mr. Nixon's here with me as well. As you mentioned, we'd like to construct a single-family home here, deck, garage, and driveway. As you can see on the plan, we're actually removing a large amount of the U-shaped driveway that is on the property, so we are removing, I think, a fairly substantial amount of impervious area, as well as in this area here as well. The erosion controls are shown on the plan. I'm not sure if they're shown on sheet 2 or not, but if that detail is missing, I'm more than happy to add that detail to the plan. And I can.
It's hay bales that needs to be corrected.
Okay. And I can open it up to the commission if you have any questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I see what you're talking about, the professional land services.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's just because it got copied in from previous employee sheets, yeah, from previous employees, previous business associates. So.
Yeah.
All right, to me, this seems fairly cut and dry as far as the, does anybody have any questions on this? If not, I'm turning it over to Brent. Okay, Brent?
So we're basically looking for the same type of, minor, well, relatively minor plan revisions, creating consistency by looking at having, again, a no-cut, no disturbance area that will mesh in with the abutting parcel and mostly continue down through here and more than likely be outside the limit of work, and some posts kind of put in the woods there. There's some piles of brush and branches. There's a few little bit scattered man-made artifacts. There's a pipe sticking out of the edge of the fill. I think it's on this lot. I wasn't quite exactly sure where the new boundary line was. Let's see. What else did I say? We have stormwater provisions on this proposal, which is good. And so we're looking to have the compost bark mulch sock be the specified detail for the erosion control instead of the state hay bales. Construction site entrance pad does need to have a reference to recycled concrete removed. Commission does not favor and usually strictly prohibits the use of both recycled concrete as well as recycled asphalt to be used in near any wetland resource areas. I did not see any specificity in regards to the driveway entrance that leaves Main Street and comes down into the property. I believe the contours and everything possibly would result in it being a slight slope into the property from the street, so I just wanted to make sure there was some kind of berm or something there, so stormwater wasn't directed right off the street in the curbing. I mean, that may not be an issue. Because of the snow cover, I couldn't really see exactly how that was gonna
With the
play out.
infiltration trench, they'll most
Yeah, but
likely.
we still do not want roadway runoff
Oh, you're talking.
as a
about-
conduit coming into the property if we can help it.
Okay.
So whatever needs to be done, either the first part of the driveway is just raised up and then slopes down, but the idea, because I believe this is curved. I believe there's curving along the roadway here. When you make an entrance, you don't want it to end up being an inlet for roadway runoff coming straight down their driveway. So
Would you like to see some sort of grading on the plan, or
It
is a
can
note
just be a
sufficient?
note, it just can be a
Okay.
note, yeah, to raise awareness when they're doing the site work that needs to be done.
Okay. Okay.
Any members have any questions?
Brent?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask Brent, I'm not sure you're the one that knows the answer, but you were mentioning some things on the property that, kind of messy, that,
Farm equipment or something?
you know,
Well, I really didn't, what did I actually see? I can't remember whether I did the pictures. No, because of the snow cover, I really could only see branch piles, but on the slope, yeah, no, it doesn't fit in the way here, that isn't good. Where the slope drops right down,
Yeah.
so more than likely the edge of historic fill, somewhere between these two wetlands flags, there was like two chunks, flat chunks of concrete, like from an old patio or something, and then there was the black tarred pipe.
Pipe coming out of the
Orange
side of
pipe
it, yeah.
coming out. I don't know whether that's some old perimeter drain or something. It could be an artifact left over from whatever building it was that removed, may have had a drain line or something that discharged down there. So I just, when I've got snow cover, I think it's better to just say that, we'll have to look, and if we see scattered man-made debris that's on the surface, we're going to remove it and address it. And
okay,
Yeah.
so we're
when
gonna.
it's snow cover, I'm assuming there might be something there, but I didn't see any evidence that there was like big problems. Like I didn't see an engine block sticking out of the edge of the fill or anything like that.
But we are saying it's going to be removed.
Yes,
Okay.
that's normal, typical housekeeping. To be honest with you, it's
I
really
know.
a standard condition on our orders anyway.
All right, do I hear?
Hang on 1 second, I just have a question about the infiltration chambers. Are there any test pits in that area of the two infiltration chambers? For the,
Yes.
I just want to see what the groundwater elevations might be.
It was at 7 feet, I believe.
Pardon me?
I think it was at 7 feet.
Oh, okay, all right. Is
All
that-
sand and gravel in there.
Okay, I just didn't see it anywhere on the plan where that was stated.
No, I think because this is mostly a sanitary system plan, that they concentrated on the witness
Right.
soil
Right,
evaluations
but
for
there's,
that.
there's nothing back with the recharged chambers are, though. I was just curious what the depth is to the groundwater. And you say it's 7 feet?
I wouldn't be surprised. That's a fairly good, where the slope, where the edge of the fill is, it's a fair drop there, and I would have guesstimated that it was somewhere between 6
Well,
and 8 feet.
I see the ones up front near the septic is pretty deep. Okay.
And the wetland elevation, even if you're conservative, you could call it at elevation 40. And the chambers are proposed above 48, or around 48, give or take.
I think they're gonna be able to achieve the 2 feet of separation, if that's the concern.
That's the
Bob.
concern. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
And I'll specify
Okay.
that they have at least
All right,
2
that'd be
foot
great.
separation in the order, so they'll have to feel.
When are you gonna do this, in the spring? Any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion to issue an order of conditions specified with the conditions that were noted on this?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Yeah.
Sam must spend more than 30, 40 years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can tell you where it went and how it went, but I can't tell you when it went.
It's gotta be.
Gasoline,
When was
diesel,
40
or
years
ox,
ago?
did oxen pull it?
70?
That was, yeah, it'd be the 70s.
Yeah, it might have been 50.
I don't recall.
It went down, an interesting thing.
I
was
can tell you
went
the house, I
across
know
the
the house.
street,
Yeah,
you know, and it went across the street and it went
behind the church.
behind the church and behind the house that was the church rectory,
Right.
which was the one on,
Well, that makes sense,
Yeah.
because that's straight, I
so
mean,
it went through there, yeah.
yeah.
Wasn't necessarily the easiest, no, I shouldn't say it that way. It wasn't the easiest terrain to go over, but it was an easier
Yeah.
haul for it.
Easy haul, yeah. All right, this is a legal notice. The Raleigh Conservation Commission, in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40, as amended by the Town of Raleigh Wetland Protection Bylaw. A public meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, 8:15, Room 5, Town Hall Annex, at 39 Central Street, to consider request for the determination of applicability for the application filed by Kyle Boson for proposed soil evaluations, possibly with 100 feet of a buffer zone or bordering vegetated wetland, and the DEP approved groundwater protection area Zone 2 at 866 Havel Street, map 4, parcel lot 2, Raleigh, Mass. You have the floor, and you are,
All right, for the record, I'm Kyle Lally with Hancock Associates, representing Carl Boson. Let's catch up here. All right, so we have 866 Haverhill Street, just down the road, and this is a very simple RDA, so I hope, which is actually exempt from the Wetland Protection Act for the perk testing and the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, which I've highlighted in green down below. We're approximately just in the dead center, about 60 feet out from the bordering vegetated wetland, so within the buffer zone for some of the area. This pink area, which is shown in red on your plans and up on the screen, it's actually just kind of an envelope of an approximate area of where we're going to be soil testing. We're entirely sure exactly where we want to go out there, so we just kind of made it nice and big. I went out there for a site walk with Brent in the cold a week ago, and I'd staked it out just so make it a little easier, and we went out there. It's a nice flat area, and it's really not much tree cover. You can see we showed the kind of edge of the tree canopy. Some of it's in it, some of it's out of it, and the edge of the trees that the surveyors picked up, it's not all that dense to begin with. Might be 2 or 3 trees on the edge here that are mature, one big one over in the dead center here, a couple down the side. I'm not really proposing any tree clearing for the soil testing. We'll just, if anything, maybe run over some of the multiflora rose that's out there. But all we're doing is soil testing. We'll be back in for the septic system itself if we find that we have to have it within the buffer zone.
No, you're gonna be back anyway.
We're in zone 2.
You're entirely in the zone 2, which is a resource area under our bylaws.
Right.
So you'll be saying hello to us again.
So we'll be back for the septic system itself in time.
Where is it now?
Right now,
Yeah, the existing system,
Yep.
Let's see.
we have the
It took us a little while, but that's,
here.
yeah, so it's right in between there. It may be kind of longitudinal or linear,
So it's
as opposed to
actually
a rectangular
towards the
field.
back of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going actually a little farther away from the wetland. Yeah, the 3 vents should probably be so it should be about like in here, outside the riverfront area, which is here extends down 200.
Okay. Any of the committee have any questions on this at this point? All right, I'd like to turn it over to Brett.
Well, the commission has been provided with a
Yes.
memorandum in regards to it. The recommendation, again, because it's a pretty straightforward activity, but of course, being in our zone 2, the normal precautionary condition number 2, that there be a spill containment kit appropriately sized for the activities there. I did specify erosion control, but acknowledge the fact that it would not have to be utilized unless for some reason they were unable to backfill and stabilize the disturbed areas on the same day, which is the normal modus operandi on that. So.
Okay, anybody else have any further questions?
It's straightforward.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
pretty
this
straightforward.
is actually the last property in this particular row. The other building under the same ownership, we closed out the order for the replacement system on that structure not too long ago, although I think it was installed a little further back and they just forgot to close it out with us. But also on the neighboring property over here, condo complex or whatever, we did stormwater upgrade over there where they brought discharges back, I think, to do with high groundwater, that their first level, which I think is a partial floor or whatever, I think was seeing weeping or something, yeah.
Flooding over.
Yeah, something, yeah.
All right. Do I hear a motion to accept this with the positive determination option 5 and a negative determination option 3, incorporating the conditions that Brent has noted on this paper?
So it's option 5 because it's in our zone 2
True, right, okay.
with the conditions, and then for the part of it that's within the 100-foot buffer zone, the bordering vegetated wetlands, it's the negative determination option number 3.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
It is a little chilly in here, huh?
Yeah, I'll have to go check. The
Well, no, you don't
This
bother.
morning.
Not that bad.
I think we all came prepared. Second layer.
Yeah, there isn't really.
We all have to go out at some point too. so.
Yeah. I got a cast out of it.
Nice.
Ooh, bit automatic.
Yeah,
Yeah, did it work?
it does.
Good evening.
All right.
Good evening.
Whoops.
You don't have to wait out in the hall when there's another hearing going on. This is a public meeting, so you're welcome at any time as long as there are seats.
Yeah, we were just talking, I was texting my wife, and my son's at hockey practice, so I wanted to see how he was doing, and the Bruins are playing tonight, so.
Are they ahead?
I wasn't able to get the score. The game started at 7, I think we're playing the Islanders. Don't imagine I'm gonna do very well.
The Islanders from Brooklyn.
Yeah, really. Did pretty good against Ottawa though on Sunday afternoon. I have a thumb drive for you when you're ready.
Well, we need to have a continuation of the bylaw fee waiver discussion before the legal ad can be read.
So you
Is
people
there
are,
hard copies of whatever the details are for the bylaw fee waiver proposal?
We have, since our shall I just start? I mean, this isn't, the public hearing's not open, this is a general
Correct.
discussion, is that how I understand?
Well, the
Is
discussion
that
is on
correct
the
understanding?
bylaw fee waiver
Okay.
request.
Since our last hearing, we being Camet and the applicant, Raleigh Solar, have investigated the site for other options, other locations for the ground-mounted photovoltaic solar array system. We do have a revised design prepared that identifies an alternate location for the one presented initially to the commission. That location greatly reduces the amount of work within your resource area for the 100-foot buffer zone. The wetland fee application worksheet has since been revised and reflects a much lesser fee, if you will. The applicant is here with me tonight with a check that will cover that fee. We also have revised drawings, support calculations, and the flash drive I gave Brent has these revised drawings on it. So what we're here for tonight is kind of multitasking. We'd like to discuss the bylaw fee first and solidify that. Request at the commission's choice, possibly open the public hearing for the notice of intent. Hear us, even just for a short time, and we can always continue. And then also discuss the stormwater management permit application as well, in light of the revised design.
Okay, so in regards to the flash drive you just gave me, is
Yes.
there a PDF representation of the wetlands bylaw fee worksheet? That's
There is
been-
not, but I
there
have
is
paper
not.
copies.
Okay.
I'm a little confused. Are you revising the plan and submitting a fee for the revised plan, or you
That's-
want to, so we don't
yes.
need to discuss the waiver at all?
right,
Well, they have not tendered
we gotta see
the
it.
fee at this point in time.
That's
Or
right.
about to?
Yes.
And we haven't been even presented with a sheet detailing what that fee check would be. Well, so the normal procedure would be for the application to be submitted to the office, whereupon I would initiate a review, looking at the submitted plan, looking at the calculations presented for assessment of the fee, and at least trying to come up with a,
Exactly.
general understanding that that was an accurate reflection. With the fact that it's being submitted here at a public meeting of the commission, I would suggest that the commission accept the bylaw fee worksheet, instruct me to accept the submitted check for $5,955, with the understanding that, of course, as this gets reviewed or whatever, if there is a legitimate reason to call into question the calculations that result in this particular assessment, that is always capable of being
Yeah, let me
brought
just
forward.
interrupt here. Brent has exactly what I have right here. How do you get your calculations? Do you have a diagram of what's?
I'm assuming the plans that.
Oh,
it's
yes.
about-
That would have all the dimensions and everything?
Well, it's a quite an irregular shape, the area of
I mean,
disturbance.
there's some way you've got these square footage, right?
Yeah, the 12,000.
Yeah, so
where you just kinda-
We use AutoCAD to measure the area.
Okay,
So we have all of this in digital format in AutoCAD.
okay.
And
And we have a copy of that?
this, well, not the
Well,
native
it's
AutoCAD file.
it's
Right.
stamped by a licensed professional, so
Right.
we're going to.
So I guess to answer your question, I've not pointed out on the drawings where that disturbance is. However, it is, I can point out here, it's all the work within this 100-foot buffer zone through here like this. Right, you can see this is the 100-foot buffer zone spanning around like that. Might be easier to, I have these in PDF.
Yeah.
Oh, is it on this one?
Yeah, it's this,
So we're-
this PDF labeled Rev C.
Okay.
There you go. So if you go to the fourth page of the PDF. There we go. Nice. So the 11,910 square feet starts from the fence here, follows the 100-foot buffer zone, includes this infiltration basin, continues, includes a portion of the gravel roadway,
Bob,
continues.
can I interrupt you just for a second, just
Yes, sir.
to orient us in terms of where is the existing residence
It
in
is,
regards to this?
it is several hundred feet to the west.
It's not on this drawing.
Where's Weathersfield Street, down at the bottom?
South, yes. Weathersfield is across here.
Okay, so it's at the back of that,
The residence is over here.
okay.
I suppose maybe this might be a good time to introduce the revised design instead of jumping into the
Well,
well feed
Well, I
counts.
think
know we
the
have to sort
chairman, the
out
chairman has a legitimate concern in wanting to know the validation for the calculation of
Yeah.
the fee
Yeah, and-
worksheet.
yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a significant change from what was presented with the application before, which there's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with changes or whatever, we're just trying to orient ourselves now
I
to
understand. Okay.
to this. So right now, I'm displaying at the very bottom here, Weathersfield Street with the new proposed, and this would be new, this isn't where the driveway to the residence is,
That's
correct?
new, correct.
This
That-
is,
that-
this is
that
all new, all new, okay. All right, so that's shifted over in an easterly direction.
That's correct,
Okay.
along Weathersfield,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
So the residences are kind of like up into the lot.
So,
It's,
the detached garage that's right along the driveway, and you come in, you can see that right there. Which is oriented right there.
Yep.
So, yeah, so the residences are actually off, and the barn and stuff, that's all off the edge. There, we've gone east.
So the disturbance area is just for the solar field, not for the road that's going back there, or?
it only includes the road and infiltration basin. None of the panels will be.
Oh, the panels are not sitting in a,
Correct,
okay,
yeah. Actually, Brent, if you go to the next slide,
so it's the road.
these are smaller subsections of the total system. The next slide shows the bigger component sheet.
Not
here.
You're right there.
Yeah, sheet 9. Might have to zoom out just a
But you
little.
gotta zoom out.
Yeah, to zoom out just a little.
So that's where the panels will be.
Yeah,
So you got two areas of panels,
yeah.
and the disturbance is.
Excuse me, 3. There's a small
One.
piece there.
Okay, 1, 2, 3,
One,
and then
two,
the
and then
disturbance
three.
is the road.
The disturbance is detention basin and road. Just
no trees being cut, or?
yeah, they'll.
All right,
Yeah,
at
to be
this
transparent.
point, I'd feel more comfortable if we have time to take a look at it. I wish we'd have had these a week ago.
Well, as I said, we can certainly accept them turning in
Right.
the check with,
Definitely.
with the worksheet, and they can explain the revised proposal to us.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously, the office hasn't had an opportunity to scrutinize this because we haven't actually received it until just seeing it now. So,
Right.
so it's still subject to review and.
All right, go ahead, give us, tell us what you,
Would you like?
The new plan.
Would you like the check, or?
Yeah, we
yeah,
like to check.
we need that to, we know to go further.
Never want to turn down the fee check.
Maybe.
Now,
Does
therefore,
that have to be moving?
no, actually no, but let's open,
Okay. Legal notice, Raleigh Conservation Commission, in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. As amended, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, at 8:30, Room 5 of the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a notice of intent application filed by Raleigh Solar LLC for the proposed construction of a 7-acre solar photovoltaic system, gravel access drive, stormwater facilities, utilities associated with grading, possibly with a 100-foot buffer zone for bordering vegetated wetland at land off of Weathersfield Street, map 11, parcels 53, 54, 54-1 and 58, and land off Pine Needle Lane, Georgetown, map 11, parcel lot 56, at 623 Weathersfield Street, Rowley, Mass. Now, those are all the same.
now for verification
Correct.
purposes, did the resuscitation of all the assessors map blocks and lots, did that cover all the acreage that the new
Yes.
modified, okay.
Yes, yep, we're still working within the same.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we've,
Understood.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, for the record, Robert Blanchett, civil engineer, Cameron Engineering, Amesbury, representing Raleigh Solar on the matter of a notice of intent. The work proposed at 623 Weathersfield Street. The work is a proposed ground-mounted photovoltaic solar array system. During the previous hearing, of course, we discussed a design that depicted a proposed gravel driveway and a photovoltaic array system in this vicinity here. Since our last hearing, we've revised the design. We've moved the gravel access road east along Weathersfield Street. It still runs in a mostly northerly direction, but the major portion of the solar array system now occupies this portion of the property here, with two smaller portions of arrays here and here. Similar to the previous design, we took a very simple approach in stormwater management. Gravel driveway, paralleled by a drainage ditch. Each of the stormwater ditches run into an infiltration basin where the stormwater is managed, controlled, released, infiltrated, all in accordance with the Massachusetts stormwater standards. As discussed a few minutes ago, there's approximately almost 12,000 square feet worth of disturbance within 100 feet to the bordering vegetated wetland. And it's primarily in this area here, which includes a detention basin and a portion of the roadway. Other than that, all other work is proposed to be at a distance greater than 100 feet to the bordering vegetated wetland. And at no point will work be closer than 25 feet.
All right. I don't know if I can turn this over, you can't really talk much about it.
Can't talk much
See,
about
that's-
something I haven't seen
Yeah,
yet.
see, that's, you got us at a real disadvantage, that's why we have to.
I understand it, and
Yeah.
we appreciate you opening the public hearing and accepting the
But
check.
no, it
and-
sounds
and
like
the
definitely
revised
making
fee.
progress here.
So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. This is a significant reduction in impact to your local resource area.
Which is,
Do I recall correctly, does the number of panels or the size of the site actually increase? Was it like 5 or 6 acres previously?
Previously, it was almost 7. This one is a little bit smaller. It's 4.4 acres of panel area, plus the roadway. This roadway is a little shorter. This one's almost 1,000 feet shorter than the previous one. I honestly, I don't have that total number for you. But just by virtue of the road being almost 1,000 feet shorter, this total disturbance would be less than the previous proposal.
That's what the fee is designed for. All right, I don't really know, is there any other major thing that we should see or hear on this?
Well, we're gonna have to mention now, in the meantime, research in the files revealed that there had been an order of conditions issued for what was called the Brook Street extension.
Okay.
We've got no information in first off, we didn't know that existed. We knew that there had been a subdivision proposal prior to that.
Okay.
And actually, I was asked to look for that proposal, which I found, and then I discovered this one, which hadn't turned up prior because I had no electronic copies of it at that time period that it was issued. It was paper copies only. I think it was prior to personal computers. So I had nothing on the computer to alert me to its presence. There also wasn't any recording information, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't recorded.
Okay.
So, and I believe there was an email sent out about this, as well as DEP's comments about the previous filing. So, that being said, the only thing to be done in that is that needs to be closed.
Okay.
Whether the request for a certificate of compliance upon issuance, whether that needs to be recorded or not, hasn't been determined because of the original order hasn't been recorded. But it's just in order to follow DEP's policy of not having competing or you could almost say conflicting, because that proposal has absolutely nothing to do with this proposal, but it is on some of the same parcels that were identified in the submittal. So we're just saying that the commission would expect to see a request for a certificate of compliance, and you may wish to have someone look into whether that was recorded. I can certainly provide you with I can scan it and certainly provide you with a PDF that gives you the dates. Well, actually, I think I already gave the dates in the email, but that would allow at least a search at the registry. But you might need to see the names that were on it too, in order to have a productive search to see if it did end up getting recorded.
Yeah, the interesting conversation today. The applicant had no knowledge of approved or in order of conditions on.
Right.
We see that quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you could send that over, we'll hunt that down and sort that out.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly want to have enough time. It's not like we're pressed for time. And whether that gets immediately resolved or not, it would just need to be resolved prior to the issuance of this order and the recording. If an order is issued for this project, it would just need to be resolved prior to that.
Okay. Well, let me point out a few changes, and then we'll talk about scheduling. Timing's critical on this, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But a few things that were added to the existing or discovered when we went through this design revision is there's a bordering vegetative wetland in this vicinity here that wasn't previously defined on the drawings, right? Because we were proposing our work further east.
Well, right, yeah.
It wasn't a concern. Additionally, there's an isolated vegetative wetland here. All right, again, because our proposed drive was over here, we were far enough away that it didn't impact the buffer zone. And Brent, if you go to slide 6 for me. Okay. The next page.
Oh, this is the next one.
Yeah, just the next page. We originally we had stopped this F series somewhere in here, again because all of our work was on this side. We've since extended it all the way to the property line, which is the stone wall. So those are the 3 major changes.
We need another site visit.
So
We
we
need to
go,
review some more.
we can go walk around in the snow. Don't forget your,
Thursday would be a good day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you might wanna do it tomorrow.
Thursday will be
You're gonna
perfect.
need deeper boots.
Is all the property in Raleigh?
Yes.
Nothing to Georgetown, oh, okay.
Not this, not for this proposal.
Not for the, no project, no.
Correct. So scheduling, I'll just speak generally to it. The applicant's here, she can speak more intelligently to what she understands as scheduling, and it's all driven by some federal mandated requirements.
Our next meeting is January 23rd.
Okay,
Not to mention,
I'll
the
just lay it
consultant
out
doing the
there.
technical review is on a need to get,
Okay,
receive all these new materials, because that basically,
right.
their efforts have already just been shifted underneath their feet, so to speak.
Agreed. Permits in hand end of January. Now,
So we're gonna have to be busy.
now, of course, your permit takes the form of an order of conditions, and from what I understand, it can be, it doesn't have to be the recorded version, but it does have to be the signed version from the commission.
Well, it had to be issued.
Issued, yes.
It needs to be
which
issued.
It would be signed if it's issued.
Right.
And the stormwater permit, of course, and
And that's contingent on the third-party review.
and that's also contingent, and the site plan review approval, which I would think takes the
That's the
form of a letter.
planning board, yeah.
Yeah, not right, I'm just rattling off the different permits. So if,
We don't have anything to do with the timing. Planning board.
understood,
I couldn't even speak to their process
Understood.
for site plan approval.
yeah, well, I'll get Kirk's attention and figure out his timing. So your next meeting's the 23rd,
January 23rd.
okay? So even if, I mean, this clearly has to be continued, because there's
Right,
been no
we
peer
can't,
review
yeah.
yet, there's nothing we can do tonight,
Right,
aside from hear us, continue, and then move on to the next public hearing.
right.
Now, I don't know what you've done with the plans, but I did issue comments on the previous set of plans. Some of those comments had to do with how notations were handled or whatever, so they may be applicable to this plan set.
Yeah, I don't believe all of them got captured in this new plan set,
Yeah.
so there's
So I'm just,
some
saying, it's not like we're totally resetting the counter back to zero. There is more than likely some portions of the previous review that may be applicable
Yes, agreed.
to this set, so.
And a lot of the same design elements, not in the same position, of course, but
Right.
would transpose with all the engineering data and calculations to back it up.
All right, would you like a motion to,
One more
so
thing.
it's good?
You had some concerns, I think you had mentioned these to me, Brent, about needing experts with regard to angle of placement of the solar panels and shading from adjacent trees, areas. Is this appropriate time to mention those?
Nope. All that's wiped out until I get a look at this configuration and layout, because those might not have any validity based on this new layout.
But they might. Either way, it's possible.
Oh, yeah, but in that regards, I think we're gonna have to consider this a reset until I understand the
I mention that
positioning.
because if those things are applicable, it's gonna mean further
Right,
work for you folks to
well,
get those experts on board.
yeah, there's obviously been some efforts made, so we'll have to see where we stand.
I can say the result of the previous efforts required a more clearing on the west side than on the east. And with the new panel array system here, with 100 feet of space, if you will, right, that constitutes the buffer zone, we have upland of the 100-foot buffer zone, more available space to clear. It may mean less panels, but, you know, we don't know that yet. That's, you know, we're gonna sort that out as we move along. What we're demonstrating is what we believe is the total build-out.
So would you like us to,
I think we, motion to continue?
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good, good.
That's on both?
No, I think we need
Well,
to do
it-
a second motion for the stormwater permit, because it's gonna obviously be subject to the same.
And do I hear a motion to continue for the stormwater?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Brett, I have,
That should be doable, I mean, I know, but.
I think so, I mean, work's mostly done, right?
So are there eight complete sets?
I looked at my transmittal, I gave it 12 last time,
Right.
so you have
Well, I was
12,
on-
I'll give you 12.
You gave me 12,
Yeah.
okay. Do you,
I can leave them all here, I can peel it apart and take 4 with them.
well, so are there revised stormwater calculations and stuff too?
Just the portions that changed, most of it stayed the same, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to hamper your facilitation of getting a set to H.L. Graham Associates doing the technical review. Would that be facilitated by you taking at least 1 or 2 of those
I can
sets
take,
out of there?
I'll take 2 of those with me,
Okay,
and 2 of the revised stormwater calcs,
okay,
and I'll leave you with the rest. Is
okay.
that good?
Yep, yep.
And then we'll, of course, expedite any revisions rather, with Graham, and just kind of hurry this thing along as best we can.
Yep.
Right.
If you just, as much contact as you want, and,
All right.
yeah, just.
So is it reasonable to think that on the 23rd, if everything's aligned, Graham, we respond to all Graham's comments?
There's too much out of the commission's control.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's too much out of the commission's control for really, I mean, I can tell you that I don't believe there is anything hampering my review in that time period. No, it's,
Okay. So
but if you have to do this, we've got
So-
to do the site visit
Yes,
work,
so-
and that is weather dependent at this point in time, because I am not gonna lose any of my external limbs.
Those 2 legs. Okay, let me know when you're
I'm
ready.
really attached to the original equipment.
I can't hardly argue with that. Let me know when you're ready,
Okay.
I'll meet you out there.
Yeah, we'll have to see
Okay.
what.
You might be out there on a one-horse open sleigh.
No, I think it's supposed to warm up next week.
It is,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah. And actually, the snow should start to.
It'll warm up as
We'll
it
see what
gets
happens
snow.
Thursday.
It'll evaporate.
It'll
See what happens Thursday.
All right, I just need a few minutes to go through this stuff,
Yep.
they'll let me get in your way. There's nobody behind us there.
No, we don't, there's nobody here for the next one.
Moving into the certificates of compliance.
Yes, on Church Street. All right, folks, thank you. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Stay warm.
May I just make, just so Mr. Blanchett was kind enough to communicate the timing, it's not our,
Oh, yeah, we've
it's
dealt
just
with that.
DOER,
Yeah,
and everybody's working, as we understand and appreciate, the very best we all can together.
I understand.
It's a teamwork.
Thank you.
Take care. Safe driving.
Good night.
Night.
Can we ask any questions about what was presented on the screen?
You certainly can. I don't know if we can answer them because we're seeing them for the first time ourselves, but of course, yeah.
I mean-
I'm sorry, come on back in.
I mean, this is, I know there's been changes and everything else, but what the, I guess what
We're
it's gonna-
butters.
We're butters,
Right.
so we really wanna see how far back the cutting's gonna be.
Well,
and-
where,
Georgetown. We're in Georgetown.
well, this is moved further away from you.
Oh, yeah.
Where?
we're-
This is more in-depth into Raleigh, so now instead
Okay.
of measuring the distance to you by tenths of a mile, I think we're
Right.
talking
No, I
a
can
quarter
see.
to a half mile now.
Because we,
This is the Georgetown Raleigh town line here.
Right.
So the
Right.
closest point of work is here. Now, this
because
is.
it was coming up here.
It was coming up there,
It
correct?
was, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now because you're talking about your road being moved more westerly,
Yes.
it takes this.
Easterly.
Easterly.
I mean,
Easterly.
easterly, sorry,
Yeah.
from the west to the east, right.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not gonna be disturbing anything up through here.
No,
Through here?
nothing. Nope, nothing in here, nothing back here, nothing here. We're gonna be working over here.
So this is all safe to say, this is all good, we'll still see,
Yep.
nothing's
We'll
will be
we'll
cut.
still see our trees.
6, so
For now.
that's 6,
Till
12.
the next proposal.
That's
As
about-
far as we
Exactly,
know,
I
you're welcome to
understand.
come to the next
Unless
meeting.
unless the proposal changes.
Yeah.
Right, unless it, so the reason for moving it all is to streamline the thing so we can get it approved and.
Because you were
and
going
get
through
it
so
going.
much wetland before.
Yes,
So now it's, this, everything's gonna be pushed.
yes.
Okay. Do the butters get notified again, or how does that work?
No.
You know, if it's changed?
No, they would
So
need
they-
you'd need to contact our office.
Okay.
The only notification is at the start of the application
Right.
process.
We've been
And-
notified twice.
Twice already.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah, one for the stormwater permit, one for the,
Yeah.
right,
the notice.
okay. And we just keep looking at the hearings.
Well, you can just,
Yeah, you give
Next
the office,
hearing.
you can give our office a call.
Yes.
Next hearing's the 23rd.
Yes.
we'll come to the meeting on the 23rd.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
You can also watch it on
Yeah,
TV.
you doing?
Good, good.
Yeah, but then you
Stay
can't
warm.
say
What was
You
that?
can also watch it on TV.
Oh, that's
that.
true.
But it's hard to join in the conversation.
Exactly.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Right, well, thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Have you
There's
talked,
no-
have you talked to
Yeah,
the
exactly.
planning board yet about scheduling?
Well,
They're real tight.
I'm sorry, I've presented once in front of the planning board,
Oh,
but
okay.
not the revised design yet.
Yeah.
So they don't know what
Yeah,
the
but they're,
schedule impact
they're
is
already,
yet.
it's already in process with
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe you can set up the Dropbox or link thing like you
Yeah.
did the other
Yes,
time
yep,
or whatever, so.
Yep, I think I still have that one open, I just,
Okay, yeah, you
I was
just get the new
supposed to be on
materials.
vacation all last week, I ended up sick.
Hey, Arthur.
Oh, sorry to
Hey,
hear
So,
that.
I'm
Yes,
just getting back to
Man
that.
of fate here.
I think you just
All
made
right,
me
thank you.
hungry.
Huh?
Thank you.
I think you just made me hungry. I know Kurt will have one.
Oh, I haven't.
Well, have another.
Oh,
You keep up your heat.
watch my whistle.
As soon as I get a bite of cookie, I have to read
Right.
it.
Well, I'll read it for you while you're
Okay,
chewing the
thank you.
cookie. New request for a certificate of compliance for DEP number 63-0144 at 11 to 15 Church Street, map 24, parcel lot 136, Susan and William Herrick III. We discovered that there had been an order of conditions for septic system installation in 1993 that had been recorded but had never been closed out. They did obtain a certificate of compliance from the Board of Health and probably thought that that was all they needed to do. This didn't turn up. We have since had an order of conditions for a replacement system to replace this one.
Oh my goodness.
This order?
lasted how long?
It lasted until 2006, I think, or 2007, anyway. So the request here is to issue a certificate of compliance so they can accomplish closing out that recorded order. There were no ongoing conditions for that order, and I have all the documentation from the Board of Health's file showing that when it was installed, it was correctly put in place, and at that point in time, the conditions imposed by the Raleigh Conservation Commission mostly dealt with erosion control, installation and stabilization. We didn't get involved in too much else at that time.
This is all the property of the guy that died.
No, no,
Monty
this is another,
Guy that kept coming.
Brocklebank was who that was issued to.
Right, that was the, who Eric's bought it from.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
the right-
believe I can vote on that because I worked on that, so.
It's long gone. This is,
Long gone, okay.
issuing a certificate of compliance is actually an administrative act, so you
Yep.
don't have to worry about any conflicts here.
All right.
And basically, we're piggybacking on the Board of Health's issuance of a certificate of compliance for
All
our
right, do I hear a
document.
motion to?
I move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Oh, is that what I saw, the email about? Why would they back out? It's just a-
The next two agenda items, we have another request for a continuance. Haven't quite set up the
You want me to do
necessary.
those individually, or?
Yeah, why don't you do them both at once?
All right, for the next two items, which is Gateway Trust of 1997, Gateway Trust 2 of 1997. You would like to have a continuance, do I hear such a motion to?
I'll do the first one.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
For the next meeting?
Yep, all in favor? And why is that?
This is the professional medical office building, and because it's in the Zone 2 and right within spitting distance of our well station number 2,
Yeah.
we actually required internal inspection of
Yes.
the two facilities as to where they might be storing any hazardous materials, to verify that they actually had secondary containment on whatever shelves they have any kind of cleaning stuff or janitorial supplies or whatever.
So why do they need to continue it?
Because Mr. Coughlin, who's emailed me, has to set up a time to go, have me actually go into the building and have their managerial or janitorial folks show me where they're keeping
Yeah.
what
Just
hazardous
verify-
supplies they have, to
verify.
verify that they have secondary containment. And I also suspect that they probably had to actually, once I called their attention to the condition, they had to go purchase the, the shelf liners or whatever they needed for the containment.
There's more information than I need.
Scissors to cut the plastic. So we need another.
So we're all set,
All set on
continue
that.
to
Definitely.
January
Yep.
23rd, okay?
Motion them both?
Two at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write your initials down for both of them.
So I think there's two at a time.
Okay.
Let me do six. One. That's an open meeting.
Want me to just read this?
Yeah, I gotta put my hands on the thing here.
Thank you, yes.
Next is a continued certificate of compliance request for DEP number 63-0654. It's 689 Havel Street, map 8, parcel 28, lot 1. Robert Cochran of Barberin LLC. And that is what?
That's that new residence, almost opposite Ice Pond Drive.
Oh,
on
yes,
Haverhill-
yes, yes.
Haverhill Street. So the only two outstanding things at this point in time is the erosion control is still in place and pretty solidly frozen in place. I was able to pull up about 12 feet of it and then stop because it's frozen. It's straw wattle, so that's gonna be something that whoever the new buyer is gonna want them to take care of anyway when it thaws out.
And they would transfer that over to them, so, yeah.
So they had failed to put the overflow, spacers or whatever, or Ys on the downpipe leaders going into the dry well. They've done that, and I verified that. On the eastern side of the structure, because there wasn't any filling or anything over there, they didn't have any way to put subsurface infiltrators in. So the downspout leader on the front by the garage doors discharges onto the little sidewalk there, but then goes right into the crushed stone infiltration trench that we have along all the edge of the pavement. So that is infiltrated and mitigated. The leader on the rear corner of the house had just dropped down before and discharged onto the lawn. They've now got it going down into a crushed stone area that then ties into the crushed stone of the perimeter drain. So it's gonna have an opportunity to do some infiltration there, whereas before it didn't have any opportunity for that at all. So that's an acceptable improvement. I had noted to them that the crushed stone at where the perimeter drain outlets was half blocking the outlet of that 4-inch ADS pipe. They hadn't taken care of it, but that's an easy fix. So it's up to your discretion if you wish for me to either sit on this and wait for field verification come spring, or whether you want to issue it with just telling them that they need to take care of that and trusting.
Could you see, is there grass?
Oh, yeah, there's no
That's
issues
the
about
only thing I would
site
do.
stabilization or anything else like that. Oh, no, it's in excellent shape. And I have pictures showing it was in excellent shape in regards to vegetative cover before we got into all the
Okay,
snowfall.
that's the only thing that would have slowed me down, so I don't know if anybody else has any feelings on it or not, but I think might as well just clean this one off so we don't see it again.
I agree.
And I'm sure the new owner's not gonna leave the silt sock on the front yard, so.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, actually, yeah, the side and the rear, but yeah,
Yeah.
they'll pick it up.
All right, do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Nobody's living there, are they?
No, haven't sold it yet.
That's funny, I thought that was pre-sold.
I thought it was too.
No. Well, they haven't given me any indications that it is.
For sale signs.
Yeah, it's for sale sign on it.
Yeah, you drive by it every day.
When I was speaking to Mr. Cochran, he said, well, they really honestly didn't expect it to sell over the holidays. That's usually the worst time
Yeah.
when people are having Christmas and stuff, so.
Been there, done that, one of those sell a house between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People aren't thinking about buying houses.
No, they're not.
Permits and enforcement, do we have anything?
Unless you want to make a gift.
Exactly.
Full disclosure, I'm behind on writing permits and stuff, and I'm also.
Okay.
So just to let you know, but I've got them and I'm knocking slowly but surely working on them. So.
I must say, we're getting a very impressive open space committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Is there any more openings on that?
That should be it.
Yeah.
No, that's, yeah, the selectmen decided that I think
Yeah, I
they just
thought that
wanted
was it.
5 people, so.
All right,
I was
folks,
gonna ask if she knows how to run a saw.
that brings us to, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting tonight?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.